Okay, so we have begun, and I'm just gonna wait for people to trickle in, and make sure that the audio is all working fine because we had some issues with that yesterday. So, yeah. And yes, I did. There is music on. Last time, nobody could hear the music, so hopefully you can now. Yeah, so maybe just while everybody's showing up, I will start on my warm-up, which, is kind of just a bunch of like circles and lines and stuff. So I've just set a timer for 5 minutes. It's usually how much I'll just do like a warm-up for. And yeah. Yeah, there's just way too many times that I've like started drawing without warming up, and it's kind of cost me. Especially recently, I've been trying to warm up more often so that I'm comfortable before I actually start doing the drawing stuff. The good news is we're just doing like studies and stuff today, so it doesn't matter how messy things are, because we're not trying to make any super pretty art. Just put this here so people know what I'm doing. Because, yeah, right now this doesn't look like Komodo dragons, so. Oh, okay. So the Twitch was telling me like there's nobody here, and then it just like boom, just 6 people here. So hi, people. I don't know when you got here, but I'm just doing a kind of 5-minute warm up, and then we're gonna get into the focus of today, which is Komodo dragons. Hey Anna. Nice to see you. Good morning, Jiggle My Taters. I like your name. Yeah, so some exercises I'm doing right now, kind of drawing a line and then just kind of trace over it. It's just a nice practice for control, which is really helpful for me because I actually don't do a crazy amount of like sketching digitally. Usually it's just like in a sketchbook, and so I find that I'm not as comfortable with like a tablet, or in this case an iPad, as I am with a sketchbook, and I want to be more comfortable with it, so this is good for kind of getting that control in. And just I'm just gonna double check that the audio is all good. I think you guys can hear me fine, and just want to make sure that you hear the music as well, and that it's balanced and stuff. And I've kind of actually been switching. I have just like a normal drawing tablet that I'll use I think most of the time, and then I also do have an iPad that I could try. Okay, I'll turn on the music for you. Let me know if that's better for the music. But yeah, so I've had an iPad for a few months now, and I haven't been using it nearly as much as I wanted to. And I have a lot of friends that are getting like really good results once they get comfortable with it. So I'm using it as the tablet here in Photoshop, just to get more practice in, because I think that yeah, it'll pay off for me if I do. Great, thank you, Anna. Okay, so I think we are ready to go. Yeah. So today we are doing Komodo dragons. Oh, you can import the brushes right into Adobe Sketch Lemon. Okay, very cool. I just had to include this image, by the way, because I found so many pictures of like Komodo dragons like fighting, but really they're just hugging. So I thought this was kind of a nice way to start out the morning. Yeah, Lemon, I'm using Astropad right now, which I think works quite well for me because I do get to just work in Photoshop. But outside of that, I've been using Procreate, and while I don't have like Kyle's brushes in there, the brushes comes with, they're pretty good, and you can customize them quite well, and I just like the program. Alright, so let me get that out of the way. Okay. Just as we've been doing this week, I'm just going to start off by I'm going to start off by just doing some drawings to try and understand the animal, using these reference photos, and then once I kind of have a better bearing on the animal, then we're going to take away the reference and then try to draw it without. And then from there we'll kind of fix up our drawing, and yeah, it's just kind of a process of trying to see how much we've learned and then learning more when we realize what the gaps are. Okay. I mean, so one thing right off the back is, it's like, I just notice how long it is, especially like the body, yes, but like also the neck, like right here, like that's pretty long, and it looks like the head just starts there. So that's something that'll be good to make note of, just in drawing this. Then it keeps his head like very level. So that's something I'm going to want to do in my drawings. Yes, it does kind of peek up a bit like this, but a lot of the time I notice, especially when it's like walking around, or like I'm assuming like looking for prey or trying to be sneaky or something, it kind of, its head swoops down like this. So these are just kind of good things for me to know when I want to make believable poses. Yeah, I'll just start off with some drawings. So what I found with like lizards is that you can really kind of see like when looking at their like front and rear legs, you can really see kind of like how they're like our own. And it's just a nice thing to kind of consider, like when you're drawing, like, oh, like they're like, you know, in the case of the leg here, like it's, you know, here's like a thigh, and then like the knee, and then the I don't know, I guess like the calf and shin or whatever, very similar to us. It's bending the same way as us, and then you kind of have the foot, and they just kind of have these long like claws instead of our fingers, and then the front legs almost looks like they're like perpetually going to like do a push-up or something, but still like as if we were doing a push-up, still kind of in the same position. So like the elbows are out to the side, and then you have kind of like these forearms that come down into the wrists, and then again they have claws instead of our fingers. And actually, once you start to like learn a bit more about just like doing animal drawings, you'll there's like kind of three main classes of animals, or like three main like locomotive classes, or kind of ways that they stand and move around. And these guys are the same as us. So we would fall under like the plantigrades, and it's because we kind of, you know, plant like our whole hand, fingers, palms, everything on the ground when we walk. And the lizards do that too. But like what we've been drawing so far this week have been digitigrades, which is like they kind of just stand on, and this is like the wolf and the hedgehog, they kind of just stand on their fingers and like the pads of their palms, and then the rest of their hand is actually kind of like another piece. So sometimes when you're learning a new animal, it can be good to know these different classes, and then find out what is the one that you're drawing, and it actually kind of gives you a good idea of what the skeleton's going to look like, and how that animal's going to move, and how its limbs will bend and all that. And this would be probably the easier class to draw because we're so familiar with it, because yeah, the limbs kind of move just like us, only we're not this wrinkly and bearing this many claws and yeah. So it's got this like ear hole kind of right here. And just as always, guys, you know, chime in with questions at any time. I know some of you guys are usually doing like some other work while you're watching or whatever. So that's cool. Just let me know. I'll try to continue to do my best job of thinking out loud here as I do this. Yes, because like at this stage, I'm really trying to just get a sense of yeah, like the overall shapes of the animal and the proportions and things like that. I'm not going to worry too much about details. But something at this point that might be really helpful, you know, for me and you guys too, is I have this reference of a skeleton here, and I can kind of even just grab like another color and kind of draw the skeleton in to my drawing. This not only like checks my work, like make sure that it's okay, but also, you know, gives me a sense of just of the skeleton, which is actually quite helpful. I don't want to do anything major, but just kind of follow like the spine, kind of curves up. And then we have these shoulder blades here. And then there's one bone that goes here. And then another bone that comes down here. And we can see that this bone, this kind of, I don't know what bone this is, but like where the bicep would be, it seems to be shorter than the one here, or the group here on the forearm. And then we have like the rib cage, like this really long body that kind of goes quite far. But if you notice the centerpiece with the sternum or whatever, it only actually goes a little bit here, and then it connects, and then these are just additional like ribs, I guess. But so the sternum here, that's where like a lot of the like the breast muscles, like chest muscles, are gonna do a little join along there. So you can even see it here in this reference here, like he's got these kind of big groups of muscles here. It looks like I just gave him tits. Yeah. Usually when you see like ridges or like little spiny bits, like on the skeleton here, it's usually where muscles join on. So when you see animals, you see this a lot actually in lizards, and if you like study dinosaurs and stuff, they have a lot of these ridges along their spine, and it's because they need a lot of muscles on their neck, because their necks like really lean forward a lot. Especially look like a T-Rex, like it's really leaning forward, so it needs a really strong neck to support its head, and so that it'll have a really big little, I don't know what you call them, these kind of big bits on the spine, so that the tendons of the muscles can hold on. Yeah, I mean, it's I would say like the skeleton is not always like the most obvious starting point, but it's definitely like it's definitely really helpful. Like really, I think it depends on like what you're trying to like study at the time, but I find it's a really good way to check your work. Like if you have a person or an animal or something, and something looks off, a good way to check what's wrong is to try and draw the skeleton underneath it. A lot of time you can realize like, oh, one leg is longer than the other, or the proportions are off, or maybe, you know, in the case of people, sometimes you'll put the hips like way too far out, or the shoulders way too far out, and it's like, oh, that arm actually isn't going into the socket properly. So that's where I think using skeletons is really helpful. And again, it's just, you know, I think like in an ideal world, like to draw something like really well, you would like learn the skeleton and then learn all the muscles that you piece on the skeleton, and then put like the skin and stuff on top, like in a very, you know, from the inside out constructive sort of way. But that takes a lot of time. You don't always have time to kind of learn that for every single thing. Like a rhino and a salamander had a love affair. Yeah, we just need to give him like a little horn. There we go. So I'm just going to continue following this. Yes, there's another bone here. Another one that goes down here. And then it's kind of like the palm. And then it has these like really big talons. And then, yeah, and then the tail is just a continuation of the spine. And again, we'll see on the tail back here, a lot of these little, I'm gonna find out what these things are called. These little bits that kind of hang off the spine. But you can see like they're quite big right here at the base of the tail, and that's because there's going to be a lot of muscles here that kind of hold the tail and control the tail too. Because I know a lot of things with tails use that for balance and moving around and all that stuff. Like as this guy will walk, he's probably going to be, tail's going to be swaying back and forth. So yeah, that's what those things are, to kind of hold all the muscles. You're doing a blue-footed booby. Perfect. No, it's cool that you guys, you're not the first one to say that some of you guys are doing some of your own animal studies too, which I think is perfect. Like, that's the best way to really use kind of, yeah, use this information to do it yourself. You know, apply what you learn. The skull kind of looks like almost like a duck sort of thing. But like, if I were to really simplify his skull, yeah, it's just like almost like a Muppet or something. You can really see that here. I really like this photo, but it's also really helpful to, so I'm just kind of draw on it, like, you can kind of trace out his skull. Actually, no, it's gonna go farther than that. Yeah, so the skull really is just like, you know, ours, and I'm assuming like most, if not all, skulls. It's just like two bits, like it's like the top piece and then the bottom jaw that kind of opens. And I know some animals have control of like for us, like we can just, I think we just open and close our bottom jaw, but some animals can kind of do both. And I think lizards might be one of those. I'm pretty sure snakes is one of those because they can dislocate and do all sorts of weird things. But I think that might be why he can open his mouth so wide, is because instead of just opening downwards, it can open downwards and upwards. That makes sense. Do I have enough information to go on and do it without reference? I think all I need to do is draw on his tongue. There we go. Alright, now I do. Yeah, I kept finding so many pictures of them just like drooling all over themselves and stuff. You can kind of see it in this one here. Oops. Actually, not so much. But yeah, I couldn't figure out actually if they're like venomous or not. I always thought that they were. And then I was reading on like Wikipedia and stuff, and they're saying that, like, I don't know, it's kind of in dispute because they have some like, they have these kind of like glands like under their like mouth or whatever that kind of produces things like these proteins that are like toxic, but I'm not sure that it's actually like a venom. It's something that maybe just like coagulates the blood of like the thing and kind of slows it down that way. I don't know. Either way, they're really slimy when they bite you. Hey, Silent Mantis. We are drawing Komodo dragons, and now that we've kind of done a bit of that, we're going to take away all the reference and try and draw one without reference. Yeah. And then we get to see all the mistakes that we make. So again, in doing this drawing, I'm going to try and do it in a pose that wasn't on the reference, or at least that I didn't draw. And that's just kind of really, because if you're just drawing the exact same thing that you just, like drawing the exact same pose, it becomes more like copying than it does understanding the actual like shapes and forms. And you want to really understand the subject so that you have the freedom to kind of put it in any position you want. You can, pose it however you'd like. So I think I'm going to kind of make one like kind of like stalking. Maybe they'll kind of be looking this direction. Yeah, I'm starting really, really loose as I kind of figure out how I'm going to do this. Probably put a leg there. So again, something I notice is that when they're kind of like sneaking up on stuff, they got their heads like drooped down. So that's what my guy's going to be doing. I don't know that they're like super stealthy, but because they're pretty damn big. But yeah. Yeah, they are weird, mantis, but they're pretty cool too. Like, I just love how like wrinkly they are. So here I actually might use some of my memory of the skeleton, just to kind of make sure I know that I'm placing things in the right spot. And that was like what we're doing with the whole drawing from reference, and that whole process was just trying to understand as much as we can. Again, the arms kind of bend like, as if we were kind of doing like push-ups, like they're kind of out like this. And then the legs are, kind of like our legs in a sense, just in the way that they bend and move. So it also would be like, depending on how in depth you want to go with your study, it's actually also quite helpful to even like watch footage of animals like moving, just to get a sense of like the motion, because that really helps when you're posing. Because there have been times when I've drawn an animal and posed that I thought was correct, and then I found out that they actually don't bend that way. And like something you'll find with like these four-legged animals is that when they walk, like in between strides, usually there'll be like two legs that are like close together. So like these two here are gonna be really close, and then on the other side they're gonna be like really far away, and it kind of goes back and forth like that. So when you're drawing a pose, it can be really helpful if you're trying to do them like mid-walk, to do something like this. So now like this leg on the other side, I'm gonna have kind of back here, maybe farther back, like that. That, and when the legs are split, so I need to be a bit farther. And when the legs are split, it's also just serves for a more interesting pose. Something I went over the other day, I think, too, is it just adds more interest. You can kind of see all the legs, and it's not just uniform, but there's variety. No, one thing I didn't really draw too much of, I didn't really draw from the reference, was the tail, so I don't really have a good sense of how long it is. I know it's thick at the base here, and that tapers off. But I didn't really draw too much of it, so that might be something for me to do more work on. And again, I remember, so this is actually like the chest here. I remember there's like these two big bulges. Actually, I think this might even be longer. because it did have a really long neck. So I'll say the head starts there. And I remember there's like an ear there. And it's got that like Muppet mouth. Yeah, the head's gonna be something I'm gonna have to work on because I didn't really study it super well. I can already tell that this is, looks like a sock puppet or something. I know it does kind of taper in a bit more than I'm doing. And I remember there's just like some wrinkles, kind of all the wrinkles will kind of happen like near the joints and stuff. That's just where it makes sense that the skin will kind of bunch up the most. This guy just has like wrinkles running along his body too. So, one thing is I don't actually know how, if they're able to extend their arms like super straight like this, like I'm doing. I don't know what the range of motion is there, so that would be another thing for me to research, get reference for and stuff, is like how far can they actually extend their arms. I know that we can do it like this, but doesn't mean that they can. It does look like a mutant otter, Tatiana. That is a very good description. And even this back leg here, I'm not liking. Cool thing too is like if you know like some human anatomy and like where the muscles go and stuff, it can really help actually for a lot more than you'd think with animals, because like you kind of have mostly like the same muscles and they're kind of in the same areas. It's just a lot of time they're just like bigger. Like if you compare like a human and an animal, like it'll be bigger in some spots, smaller in other spots. And yeah, it'll be like configured different ways, but at the end of the day, like if you look at like the arms or something, like I can kind of know like where the muscles are going to be, because his arms are very similar to a person. I can take a pretty good guess at it, I guess would be a better way to put it, because I don't know exactly what the salamanders like, their arms are like, but it all the information kind of works together. Okay, so we're probably gonna start doing some fixes to this guy soon. I think the biggest thing for me is going to be focusing on this head. Because yeah, this already looks way off. And I can tell that the posing of these legs is not the best. But that's okay. Again, we're not, going for a complete, like the whole purpose of the exercise that we're doing here is to understand. And so, as long as I feel like I'm learning stuff with this, then it's useful and it's serving its purpose. Right now, we're not trying to make beautiful Komodo dragon drawings. That would be something that comes later. Or in the case of what we did yesterday, is once we learned a bit about how the hedgehog looked, we actually started making like some characters, some hedgehog characters, and that's where we got to really kind of use the information that we learned. And yeah, maybe we can do the same thing today, actually. So I'm going to duplicate this. Okay. So now is where I'm going to kind of start pointing out the main problems I see. So my head is like, it is kind of, yeah, it's too round. Especially if I look at this one here, it kind of like tapers in. So this might be like something to actually just kind of redraw. You can see like there's so many like different like muscles and stuff in this face. So if I wanted to, I could really spend the time to like to like learn those. I'm not going to be doing that now, but I think that's maybe a good example of like there's kind of always more stuff that you can learn, and the kind of best approach to take is to kind of identify like what is the biggest weakness in your drawing or gap in your understanding, and focus on that. And I haven't actually drawn very many lizards. And this is probably a good example of where, like, had I drawn a bunch of lizards before, I might have a better idea of how to construct this face. Because there's a lot of overlap in similar animals. If I had drawn like alligators or something, I'm sure that would have kind of come in handy here. But now when I draw alligators, I'll have this information to fall back on. So already this head's looking a lot more accurate. It kind of has this big like, I guess it's just like skin and stuff underneath. So one thing I'm now noticing, actually I'm just gonna fix this a little bit in here, it looks weird. So now one thing that I'm noticing is that I remember when we first did our drawings, we noticed that the kind of like bicep sort of area was shorter than the forearm area. And I have not done that. I've kind of done the reverse. So this leg really should probably only come out to like here and then go straight down. You can kind of see that in this guy here too. Yeah, actually in all of them, this as well. Like this is shorter than this. And so that's what I need to do here, is just kind of have this bulgy bit here. And it looks like it should be fatter around the wrists. So I think I've mentioned this on all of these animal streams so far, but I'm going to mention it again because I think it's really important. This is the best thing, in my opinion, to do when you're really trying to learn something, is to draw it, just do your best job, and then not just point out all the problems, but actually fix them. It's through actually taking the time to fix them that you're really understanding them. It can be really easy just to be like, oh yeah, that's the problem, I'll work on that next time. But unless you actually do it, like, you kind of forget. I mean, you don't really get the same experience as sitting here right now, looking at the reference and making those changes. So yeah, that leg's way better. Yeah, I don't know. So I'm not going to go and find more reference, but I am going to just adjust this leg here because I really don't think I don't think they can fully extend like that. Mm. What about the tongue? Yeah, we didn't include the tongue. We can totally do that. Yeah, so apparently, like, they use the tongue for, like, all sorts of, like, sensing stuff. Like, actually, apparently there's, like, a lot of, like, lizards and reptiles and stuff like that. Sorry, just a second. Yeah, apparently a lot of them have, like, these, I don't know, like, sensory things, like, inside their mouth for, like, doing the equivalent of smelling. So they don't, like, use their nose for smelling, but they use, like, their tongue. And so one of the things with, like, the Komodo dragon that I found was that as they walk, they're kind of, like, constantly shaking their heads back and forth, and like wagging their tongues and stuff, trying to catch a breeze and, like, catch the smells of like, food. So yes, the tongue is very important. So if you look at this guy here, we can actually see, like, you can kind of see, like, the muscle, like the kind of thigh muscle here, which kind of gives us a hint. And then there's some other muscles that kind of wrap around here, it looks like. So we can kind of look and, like, again, this is where it's helpful to actually know, like, the real anatomy. But we can also kind of work with what we got. So if I do something like that, I can kind of, yeah, at least, like, learn some of the muscles there. And then there's, like, a calf muscle. Oops. Very similar to what we have here. So there's always kind of things you can point out and compare to. There's always going to be, like, you know, rooms for improvement. That's what this whole process is about. How do you know what's unsettling? That they smell with their tongues? And so here's something cool that I just noticed. This guy here is actually in a similar pose to what I'm doing, in that one side of him is kind of twisted, and then the other side is stretched out. And as a result, you could see there's all these wrinkles that are formed along the side of his body. So that would probably happen with my guy too. So along this side where he's tightest, we would see just some wrinkles. Just all his extra skin bunching up. The entire animal is unsettling. They're not venomous. They have so much bacteria in their mouth that it's toxic to get bitten by one. Oh, okay. Thank you for the distinction, Tatiana. Poisonous is you eat it, you die. Venomous is they try to eat you, you die. Interesting. Cool. I think the most unsettling part is just how big they are. Like, that's actually why I included this picture down here. It's just like to see how massive they are, and you like see all these pictures of them like attacking deer and stuff, and I'm like, holy crap! Like that's a lizard. I've had thick lizards before, and they're so small and cute, and just sit in their tank. And then seeing something like this, like walking around the beaches. Not water. I don't think they killed water deer. I mean, come on, that thing's got like tusks. You don't mess with that. Thank you, taters. Yes, actually, now might be a good time to compare. So I get rid of the reference right now. Yeah, so on the bottom here, should just get rid of all these extra lines that we don't need. Yeah, so if we look at like on the bottom here, that was my drawing without reference. And then I just kind of took the time to point out all the issues with it, and then fix those issues. And if at the top, like I think it's a really big difference, especially just in terms of like the structure. Like this one just seems more solid. I think it's because I really focused on getting the arms and the legs in better positions and making them bend properly. This is very like, I don't know, it's lacking some solidity. I think something I found when we did the what was the first one we did? The Aardwolf. When we did that, it was a very similar thing where it was very flowy and curvy and stuff, and maybe not as structured. But yeah, big difference in the head. The arms look correct. The stance looks a lot more correct. Yeah, I think this is a pretty good comparison here. Yeah, the bottom one. Yeah, the bottom one does look like a ferret. Yeah. Yeah. And then we can kind of just, where's my initial, yeah, that's my initial kind of drawings. So I'm going to save that. You think it's the ear. Sorry, what about the ear? I think that we're missing an ear? figure makes up a ferret. Yeah, I mean, but also just how like ferrets also are quite long, and this one looks a little like they're long and like wormy. Like they kind of just like move around a lot, and the bottom one kind of looks like that. This one looks a little more rigid, a little more solid, and like they look like pretty solid. Just looking at all the reference photos, like I feel like if you pushed one, they probably wouldn't move. So yeah, I think a lot of improvements here in the top one. And so like now, you know, what I can continue to do, or you guys can continue to do, is like, okay, now let's draw another one, and just kind of repeat that process until you're kind of happy with the amount of information that you've learned about that thing. But I think what we'll do with the last like 8 minutes or so is do what we did yesterday, which was just maybe try and make like a quick little character. So like the whole point of this was to learn the Komodo dragon. And now that we know a bunch of stuff about it, we can kind of use that maybe for, I guess maybe you could do like a lifelike Komodo dragon drawing. Maybe that's the project you have in mind, or maybe you just want to like make, you know, a lizard character. Like part of me wants to like do it standing up, but I don't know how I do that. Let's see here. What should I do? Wait, I still have that. Maybe I can make them like, make it seem like it has like a really strong front sort of thing. Let's see, I'm just gonna, yeah, I don't know if this will work out. We'll see. So the claws is something that we didn't really focus too much on. So I don't know how accurate those are going to be. But we're just going to kind of work with what we got. So I'm just kind of, for this character, I'm really focusing on the front of it, just because I really like this whole kind of like push-up stance, so I'm going to make him like really front heavy. Maybe just give him some normal legs. Yeah, so here I'm just trying to kind of show you guys like what you can do with this information once you've learned it. I'm just gonna make his tail little, because I can. So I feel like, I don't know, this could be like a boss in a game or something, or like just an enemy in a game. Some sort of mutant lizard thing. So I think the one thing that's really missing here is like, it's wrinkles. That's something that's pretty defining of this. He needs a muscle shirt. Okay, let's do that. I think it's a great idea. Oh yeah. And then, if that's the way we're going, then we can kind of get the most stereotypical tough man tattoo on there. I think it's just that, or like a heart with the word mom in it. Oh, tattoo. Yep, see, it's a tattoo that says mom. That's he can't be smiling. Anything he has to be. He's pissed now. Yep, so this is just in an hour we were able to kind of learn a bunch about Komodo dragon. And then yeah, just like learn a bunch about it and then do some drawings and then turn it into a character. So now I was able to draw something like this without any reference at all. I don't think I want to take the time to do a pin-up Komodo dragon. On his leg. Here, this will be it right here. There you go. There's your Komodo dragon pin up. I'm just gonna kind of... Nah, that didn't work out. Yeah, never really want to take the time. I could kind of like start like throwing some like back muscles in here to make them like look really ripped. And that's when you kind of start blending like the... Also, a lot of animal characters are. It's like kind of blending some animals with people. All these animals standing upright that normally don't stand upright. Yeah. So, let's just, because we can we like lay out all our stuff. So yeah, here's kind of like the stuff we did today. So yeah, I mean, do you guys have any final questions? We've reached an hour, so that's it for today. Tomorrow we're going to be doing water deer, because Tatiana has asked for it every day, so we have to do it. And yeah, do you have any like final questions before we go? Just so you guys know, I'm also putting all of these recordings up on, they'll be here on like Twitch, I think, for like 2 weeks, but I'm also porting them over to YouTube. So all the animals, already the first 2 days are up on YouTube, so yeah, if you want to like check back at these at any time, you can, they're there, and you can kind of see all the animals. So far we've done hedgehog, aardwolf, and now we've done Komodo dragon. And yeah, tomorrow's water deer. Lemon, you're super welcome. Thanks for coming like every day. It's great to have you guys. Like a lot of you guys are just coming all the time, and it makes this a lot more fun to me. Fun for me. And I think it's most important that we end this off with these guys. Oops. Aw, they love each other. Yeah, it was nice having you, Taters. I still love your name, and I look forward to seeing you again. But yeah, I'm gonna end it here. So thanks everyone, and I will see you tomorrow. How do I stop this? Okay, there we go. Alright, see you guys.